Today we're going to be talking about a compressed air engine that I built here in the garage. This is the engine. It works somewhat similar to the engine in a car or a motorcycle in that it has a cylinder and a piston. And the piston moves up and down in the cylinder. The engine runs on compressed air. The compressed air enters and leaves the engine through this tube at the top of the cylinder. When the compressed air enters the cylinder, it builds up the air pressure inside the cylinder, which pushes down on the piston. When the compressed air leaves the cylinder, it reduces the air pressure inside the cylinder, and these rubber bands here pull the piston back up. So, compressed air in, piston goes down, compressed air out, piston goes back up. So next I thought we'd talk a little bit more about the piston. You can't really see the piston because most of it is inside of the cylinder. So I thought I'd show you what it looks like and how it's made. This is what the piston looks like. It's made from 3/4 inch PVC pipe. The cylinder is also made from PVC pipe. The piston has a pipe cap, and I've made a very crude piston ring by wrapping t-shirt material and masking tape around the piston. This helps seal the compressed air inside of the cylinder so we don't lose too much, while still allowing the piston to move freely within the cylinder. Okay, so like we were saying before, compressed air enters and leaves the engine through this tube at the top of the cylinder. The flow of air in and out of the engine is controlled by these two solenoid valves here. The valve on the left is the intake valve. This is the valve that lets compressed air into the engine. You can see I have it hooked up to my air compressor. I usually run the engine somewhere between 35 and 50 psi. When the intake valve is open, compressed air flows from the compressor through the tube and into the cylinder. The valve on my right here is the exhaust valve. When this valve is open, compressed air in the cylinder flows through the tube, through the valve, and is vented through this little port here. The opening and closing of the intake and exhaust valves is controlled by this little circuit board here. This is a simple flasher circuit. What it does is to alternately open and close the input and exhaust valves, so that when the intake valve is open, the exhaust valve is closed. And when the exhaust valve is open, the intake valve is closed. There are two potentiometers attached to the board that allow us to control the timing for opening and closing the valves, and this way we can control the speed of the engine. Right now the engine is set to run at about 70 cycles per minute. Okay, so that's a little bit about the compressed air engine and how it's put together. The only thing left to do now is to fire this thing up and see how it runs. Now I won't be talking much while the engine's running because it's kind of loud, but if you listen carefully, you'll be able to hear the hiss of the compressed air as it enters and leaves the engine. So time to have some fun and hit the on button. All right, so that was fun. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the compressed air engine. Please be watching for part 2 of this video, where we'll be hooking up a wheel to the compressed air engine and having it spin the wheel. Thank you again.